Ever since the first Taken movie, we've had a spew of Liam Neeson action films. Usually we get at least one or two a year ever since, and always there's one that is way better than the rest. Thankfully this year the best one isn't Taken 3, because that was quite the disappointment. Thankfully, Run All Night ended up being really good, and I have to say, out of the two Liam Neeson action films this year so far, Run All Night is way, way better. Now, Run All Night might not have the most creative of titles, but it does make sense given the fact that the whole movie practically happens all in one night. So, I guess it fits. But there is some great talent in this film. For one, the director is the same director that made another Liam Neeson action film from last year, Non-Stop. And the writer involved with Run All Night is the same writer that did Out of the Furnace. And practically that is what you get with Run All Night. It's a mixture of Non-Stop meets Out of the Furnace, with a little bit of Among the Tombstones sprinkled in for some spice. The film also stars now awesome badass action hero Liam Neeson, as well as Ed Harris and the guy from the new RoboCop movie. Yeah, he was good. So here's the basic premise of Run All Night. The film, of course, stars Liam Neeson, and in this film he is a retired hitman for the mob who is down on his luck, regrets all the things he's done, and tries to drown out his sorrow with the bottle. Ed Harris is his former employer and best friend, and he used to be this mob boss, but he's now into more legitimate business. The same can't be said for Ed Harris's son, because he thinks that they can make a great deal of money by buying a bunch of drugs and selling them. But of course, something goes wrong, and Liam Neeson's son sees the entire thing. Now, Liam Neeson is just trying to be this limo driver. He's trying to stay out of crime and all that, and wants nothing to do with Liam Neeson. Unfortunately, he witnesses Ed Harris's son commit some murders, and now Ed Harris's son wants to kill Liam Neeson's son. But of course, nothing ever seems to go right, and Ed Harris's son is murdered by Liam Neeson. And distraught by his son's death, Ed Harris wants to kill Liam Neeson and his son, and that's where the whole action film begins. So the very premise of the movie makes you feel like you're going to see a dumb but very fun and entertaining action film. Well, I have to say, it still is entertaining, and it still is fun. It's an action film, but it's a little more serious than what you might think. Non-Stop has its serious moments as well, but ultimately it's just a fun ride throughout the entire film, and it's really not meant to be taken seriously. But of course, Run All Night has a dark, grittier, and more serious tone throughout the movie. This of course leads to some really great and phenomenal performances by Liam Neeson and Ed Harris, and RoboCop didn't do that bad either. Also, Common plays a hitman, and he was really good in this film too. He was actually pretty different than all his other roles he's ever been. Now, when I said the film felt like a mixture of Non-Stop meets Out of the Furnace, I'm not joking. That's how it feels, because just like Out of the Furnace, it's a darker, grittier, more serious film, but it still has its fun moments like Non-Stop does. And really, it's a mesh of those two films. Now, it definitely doesn't have as much action as Non-Stop did, but when it does have action, it's pretty intense. So if you're expecting it to be more like Non-Stop, you might be a little bit more disappointed when it comes to seeing Run All Night, because it is a little bit more of a serious drama, but in all honesty, it's still an action film. There's no doubting that. It's just not a non-stop, overly intense type of action film. Overall, I didn't have any real problems with Run All Night, except that I just felt it was really good rather than absolutely amazing. It had some really good solid performances, good characters, a good character development for Liam Neeson's character and his sons. It had some dark and gritty, awesome action sequences. Now there are a few moments where it does get a little cheesy, and that's not that big of a deal. It's mainly just the beginning, which kind of feels like some slow motion, big blockbuster type of war movie. I guess that's the best way I can describe it. It's a little weird. It's where it goes in super slow motion and the camera keeps turning around, and I don't know, it's weird. I don't know how to describe that. I guess the best way to describe the beginning is it felt like a very cinematic CGI trailer for a video game. You know, the trailers that don't even show gameplay or even the in-game graphics, but just a CGI cinematic trailer. It almost felt like that a little bit, to be honest. And it does have a stereotypical structure of the film where it starts off where Liam Neeson either looks like he's about to die or losing some battle, goes back to the past, leading up to that moment, and then that moment being the end climax for the film. So basically it did what John Wick did a little bit. And honestly, several other types of movies lately. Yeah, I'm just going to have to give Run All Night 4 stars. So have you seen Run All Night? What did you think about it? Go ahead and comment. If you haven't seen Run All Night at all, then what is your favorite Liam Neeson action film? Mine would obviously be Taken, with The Grey and then Nonstop being in second and third. As always, this was Bruce Gifford, and this was Just My Opinion.